Multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune condition. The body's immune system starts to attack cells within the central nervous system, which consists of the brain and spinal cord. The brain and spinal cord is the control center of the nervous system that integrates and interprets sensory information and dictates motor output. The central nervous system is packed with neurons. Neurons contain three main parts: the dendrites, the cell body, and the axon. The cell body houses all organelles and is the control center of the neuron. The dendrites are responsible for receiving signals from other neurons and bringing it into the cell. Another structure that brings information into the cell is the plasma membrane of the cell body. It acts as part of the receptive region and also receives information from other neurons. The last structure is the axon, which is responsible for generating nerve impulses and transmitting them along the plasma membrane and away from the cell body. In the central nervous system, there are two types of nerve fibers: myelinated and non-myelinated. Only the myelinated fibers are affected by multiple sclerosis. Central nervous system myelin is formed by the oligodendrocyte, which is one of the four neuroglia in the central nervous system. Neuroglia have many different roles. Oligodendrocytes' main role is the formation of the myelin sheath. They wrap their processes around the fibers, producing an insulating cover which increases transmission speed of nerve impulses.
When an individual has multiple sclerosis, the myelin is damaged or stripped away, which is called demyelination. Because this is an autoimmune disease, the immune system, which in this case is the activated T cells, pass through the blood-brain barrier. They then act against the MHC self-antigens, a protein displayed on the outside of the cell membrane, mistaking the myelin sheath for a foreign body, and they start to destroy it. Destruction can cause inflammation and scar tissue. The scar tissue built up on damaged myelin is referred to as sclerosis. We know that the myelin sheath helps with the transmission of impulses, so when demyelination occurs, messages that pass along the nerve axon become delayed or blocked, depending on the severity of the damage. There are three categories of MS, which include relapsing remitting, progressive, and progressive relapsing. Relapsing remitting is the most common type, as 85% of people have this. It is characterized by random periods with symptoms, called flare-ups, that can last days or months with asymptomatic periods in between. Progressive is characterized by continuous neurological deterioration with no periods of relapse. Progressive relapsing is characterized by continuous neurological deterioration, but there are periods of relapse where the symptoms lessen for a period of time.
Periods of relapsing can be caused by remyelination of nerve fibers, which is the replacement and reformation of damaged myelin. Whether this can occur or not depends on the severity of damage to the surrounding oligodendrocytes. Although the new myelin can work effectively, it is much thinner than the original myelin, and therefore the messages through the affected nerves may not be as fast as before. If there are several periods of damage, the amount of remyelination is reduced. In an attempt to maintain homeostasis, the central nervous system tries to reroute messages around the areas of damaged nerve fibers. Should the area of damage become too large, this rerouting process is no longer able to compensate, and messages to or from the CNS are permanently blocked. This results in symptoms that do not improve. There is a large range of symptoms that can occur depending on the location of the nerve fiber affected. Some of the common symptoms are fatigue, tremors, numbness, blindness, bladder and bowel dysfunction, and paralysis. For example, if the optic nerve is damaged or inflamed, it would cause disruption between the brain and the optic nerve, resulting in visual clouding in more mild distraction, or blindness in extreme cases. Researchers are still unsure of the cause of MS, although some suggest it may be related to lifestyle, genetics, or environmental factors. It can be diagnosed through a neurological exam, which assesses eye movement, strength, and coordination. You may also get an MRI to look for any tissue damage in the brain.
To summarize our key concepts, homeostasis is the maintenance of constant conditions inside the body. In multiple sclerosis, homeostasis is compromised when the myelin sheath becomes damaged. At first, the central nervous system tries to reroute these messages around areas of damaged nerve fibers. But if there is too much damage, the rerouting process can't compensate, and messages to or from the central nervous system are blocked. Proteins also play an important role, since multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease, which means the body is attacking the body's own cells. This means the T cells aren't recognizing the body cell's MHC protein. The cell membrane is where you'll find many proteins, including the MHC protein. The axon of the neuron works to generate nerve impulses and transmit them along the plasma membrane and away from the cell body. This process is also affected by MS.